Hello, welcome back to another video series. We'll be looking at HTML. I'll be teaching you all the basics beyond HTML, the building block of the web. So the first thing you'll need to write HTML code is a text editor. My favorite personal one to use is Visual Studio Code. Feel free to use whatever compatible editor you like, but I prefer to use Visual Studio Code. So you can go ahead and go to this URL here and hit download. After that's set up, you can open it up, make a new folder. In that folder, you're going to want to make a new file. We'll call this index.html. So conventionally, you would call your starter file index or main or something that pertains to the start. And then the extension is .html. If you did it right, you'll see this little orange tag here. We'll hit enter, and there we go. We have our HTML file set up. If we type hello world, save it. There we go. There's our first hello world code. Before we move on, we're going to install an extension called live server. Should be the first option here. Just go ahead and install this. Takes a second to download. So we're going to use live server for whenever we refresh our code. After we save something, it's going to automatically refresh it on the web browser. So we don't have to stop and restart every time we change something. So that comes in really handy. Alright, so if we go back to our file, we'll right click, open with live server. Give that a second. Here we go. Here's our hello world. Alright, so let's get started. We'll start off with comments. So this is how you write a comment. So you're going to use comments for annotating different parts of your code. Say you are on a team with different programmers and you need to relate and tell other programmers what your code does. An easy way to do it is just leave a comment. Nothing too long. You're not writing an essay. Just something quick that they can get the gist of what they're looking at. You can write a comment with an opening brace here, exclamation mark, 2 dashes, your comma in between, 2 more dashes, and the closing brace. You can make comments multi-line. As long as your comment itself is in between these tags here, it'll be a comment. It will not show up over here. So if I were to save this, refresh this, you are not going to see it. So that's comments. All right, and now we're going to look at creating our first HTML document. So what you want to do inside Visual Studio Code, we get these things called snippets. It's basically a shortcut. So if I were to do exclamation point tab, we'll get the basics of our HTML code. So we have our doc type here. All this is necessary to create an HTML document. We have our HTML tags here. So all of our content needs to be wrapped in our HTML tags. In our head tags here, we need to have our metas, our title tag, and links to CDNs, different files like CSS files or JavaScript files. That will be housed in the head here. This is the title tag. So up here we have the so this is the current title. This is just the server address. But if I were to change it, let's say there we go. Refresh that, and hello Brogrammers is our new title. Okay. So if we head over to our body here, this is where all our elements are going to live. So this is where everything on the page will be displayed. So the first thing we'll start out with, just going to make a few comments here just to annotate. So this will be the screen elements, everything on the screen that will be displayed to the user. Okay, we'll start off with heading elements. So a heading element has sizes starting from H1 to H6. And you might think H6 would be the largest it can be, but actually it's the opposite. So H1 would be the largest heading you can make. H6 would be the smallest. And H2 would be bigger. The more you go up, the smaller it becomes. So if I make an H1 tag by doing a opening brace, H1, and then closing, as you can see, it finished it for me. We get the opening again, a slash. The slash is our closing element. Closing element has to have the slash, just like this one and this one. So our body, and then closing body. And right here, we'll just say hello. We'll save it, we'll get our hello. But if I were to do an H2, say hello, it's significantly smaller. So if I just copy this, paste it 3 more times. So let's do one more. So we have 6 in total, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Here we go. So those are H6, the smallest of all of them. So biggest to smallest. Okay. Next we'll move on to paragraph tags. So if I were to do opening P, close it up, this is a paragraph tag. So this is where you would house a large amount of strings, basically a paragraph. If you have a paragraph, you'd stick it in here. And a paragraph is also known as a block element. So a block element takes up the entire width of the screen. It takes up the entire width. So if I did, a quick trick you can do is press or type in lorem, hit tab, and it'll give you a random assortment of characters and strings as a paragraph. Hit save. Here you go. We have our test paragraph. If I do a quick thing right here, you're not going to know about this just yet. We'll go over it in a later video. If I just do border, 1 pixel. Here. I basically just gave this a border. So as you can see, it's taking up the entire width of this screen. If I make it a little bit bigger, it's still going to be the entire width of the screen. So just fix that real fast. Yeah, so that's a block element. Another block element that is very commonly used, I would say more than a paragraph element, is a div. So in a div, it's basically the same as paragraph. If I did a lorem again, and hit save, as you can see, it's the same. We get this nice break in between, and it's still going to take up the width of the screen. So again, if I copy this, paste it here, yeah, exactly the same. But again, for semantics sake, you would use a paragraph tag if you were actually making a paragraph. It's more so for readability. Okay, now for inline elements. So an inline element is not the same as a block element. So a good example of an inline element would be a span. So it'd be opening, SPAN, closing, we'll type in to hello. Or no, we'll do test. Okay, you see we have our test here. We do not have this break we get with our block element. It's gonna come right here. If we give this span our border and save it, as you can see, a span is only going to take up the width that it needs to take. So as you can see, we just have our test here, it's only going to take up this amount of space. But if we did the same thing with a div, this test is still going to take up the width of the screen. The span will not. It's only going to take up what it needs. Get rid of that. In a span, if I were to do another span, it'll be right here. So it's not going to go to the next line. It'll stay on the same line until it runs out of room. But that's the difference between inline and block elements. Alright, so next we have breaks. So if I did, let's go between these two spans here. If I did an HR, this is what's called a horizontal line break. Wait, save. You'll see we get our break in this horizontal line separating these two tests. So that's a horizontal line break. If I got rid of this and I did opening / BR, close it, and save, as you can see, our spans no longer are next to each other. This test right here is now on the next line. Let's call this test 2 so you can see it better. So yeah, test 2 is now on the next line. If I took it away, it's back next to test 1. So that's a regular break. If I did a double, save that, now it makes the effect that we get with our block elements. We get that space between. Alright, so next thing we have is our link tags or anchor tags. So you may be wondering, so how do I have a link to a different website or a different page of my website on my page? So what you would do, opening, A, and closing. This is an anchor tag. So you would need an attribute. An attribute is something inside of an element. It can be a style attribute. It can be anything that relates to that element. So an anchor tag takes in an href. So all this href is an address to wherever you're trying to go. So say we're trying to go to, let's say, google.com. All right. We'll say link to Google. Save. Here we go. Here's our link to Google. If I click it, you see down here that black box we get. I'll do it again. There it is. It says google.com. We'll click it, and here we are. We're at Google. So that is a link. All right. The last thing we'll look at today is image tags. So how would you put an image on this page? What you would do, we'll do an opening. Let me comment this real fast. Image. So we'll do our opening, img, close it. As you can see, we didn't get our closing brace. So an image tag is also what's called or known as a self-closing element or tag. So you only need its opening tag. And inside of it, just like our href here, and like our style, we're going to put src for source. Set equal to, and then go ahead and go to Google, grab some kind of picture, and then copy the URL for that picture. Let's see, let me grab mine. There we go. I'll paste it. See, let's paste it in between those. Those quotes. Okay, so we have our source here, a link to our picture. We also need an alt or an alternate attribute. So say we don't have internet access, or for some reason our picture just won't load. This will tell us what the picture would have been. So this will be a banana. I'll save it. If I scroll down, you see our banana. It's very large at the moment because I have not resized it, but if I zoom out, here we go. We have our banana. All right. So what I'm going to do with these at the end of these videos is an exercise, because I find if you do an exercise or some kind of practice after learning some sort of topic, it sinks in easier. So here's your exercise. What we're going to do first, if you want to pause it, go ahead of me, try to do it on your own, feel free to, but we're going to go over it right now. So we're going to create a heading tag with the large size that says hello world. So let's get rid of this for now. And this. Save. Okay, blank page. Alright, so heading with large size would be an H1, and it needs to say hello world. Save that. Here we go. Zoom in a little bit, make it a little bigger. Alright. We need a paragraph, one paragraph, journal entry of how your day went. So let me know. This is your diary. Tell me what happened. What's the hot tea? So it'll be P for our paragraph, tab. You can also do div, but since we are writing a paragraph, usually you'd write P for paragraph. But they are equivalent. So I'm just gonna type in norm, save time. Here we go. Our next paragraph. Okay. All right. Now a link to your favorite website. So to do our link or anchor, hit A. Here we go. We want to go to we'll go to YouTube. There we go. We'll say a link to YouTube. We have our link and image of your favorite food. So again, we'll do image, and then let's grab the food. To save time, I'm just gonna grab my banana. That sounds not correct out of context. You know what I mean. There we go. Save it up, and there's the banana. Alright, so I hope you all enjoyed this video. In the next one, we'll be looking at inline styling.